The first crack in their perfect presentation came from an unexpected source, a house cat named Whiskers. Dr. Kang Sujin was a field biologist who studied small mammals. She had been working late in her home office, uploading videos to the shared database that the aliens accessed daily. Her orange tabby cat was sleeping on her desk when a mouse ran across the floor. What happened next was pure instinct. Whiskers woke up, saw the mouse, and pounced. In 3 seconds, the mouse was dead in the cat's mouth. Sujin gasped. Her camera was still recording for the daily upload. The footage of Whiskers killing the mouse had been automatically sent to the alien database. She grabbed her phone and called Minho immediately. "We have a problem," she said, her voice shaking. "The aliens just saw a cat kill a mouse." The next morning, Commander Thexra called an emergency meeting. All the human scientists gathered in the research station, nervous and unsure what to expect. "Yesterday, we observed something disturbing," the commander began. "One of your mammals killed another creature." Science Officer Velton displayed the footage on the main screen. Everyone watched as Whiskers caught and killed the mouse. "This must be an aberration," Velton said, looking confused. "A mistake in mammalian behavior. Perhaps this individual cat is sick?" Dr. Song Wook stood up quickly. "Yes, exactly. Sometimes, mammals behave strangely when they are not well. This is very rare behavior." Commander Thexra seemed to accept this explanation. "Good. We were concerned that our understanding of mammalian nature was incorrect." But Dr. Yoon Hana could not stay quiet any longer. "Commander, I think there's something you should know." "Dr. Yoon," Song Wook interrupted loudly. "Could you please help me prepare the next presentation?" Hana stared at him with angry eyes but said nothing more. Meanwhile, across the city, Dr. Bae Hyunwoo was facing his own moral crisis. He was a primatologist who studied apes and monkeys. In his files, he had incredible footage of chimpanzees that would change everything the aliens believed about mammals. The videos showed chimpanzee troops fighting brutal wars over territory, male chimps working together to hunt down rivals from neighboring groups, organized raids where chimps would kill enemy babies to eliminate future competition. Hyunwoo stared at his computer screen, his finger hovering over the upload button. These videos would destroy the aliens' belief in peaceful mammals, but they would also show the truth about mammalian nature. His phone rang. It was his colleague from the research station. "Hyunwoo, the aliens want more videos of intelligent mammals," the voice said. "They specifically asked about primates. Can you send some footage?" Hyunwoo's mouth went dry. "What kind of footage?" "The usual. Peaceful, cooperative behavior. Family groups taking care of babies. You know what they want to see." After hanging up, Hyunwoo made a decision. He selected videos of chimpanzees grooming each other and playing with their young. The warfare footage stayed hidden in his personal files. But that evening, he overheard something that changed everything. He was leaving his office late when he heard voices from the alien research station next door. The window was open and he could hear Commander Thexra talking to someone on a communication device. "Yes, General Zexhal," the commander was saying. "Earth's mammals are exactly what we hoped for. Completely peaceful creatures who could serve as living shields in our conflicts." "Living shields?" came the reply through the device. "Think about it. If we place these gentle mammals in war zones, no civilized species would attack them. Their presence alone would prevent violence. The sight of these nurturing creatures would remind everyone of the value of peace." Hyunwoo felt sick to his stomach. The aliens weren't just studying mammals for scientific knowledge. They wanted to use them as tools to stop wars by putting them in danger. He called an emergency meeting with the other scientists at a small cafe near the university. "They plan to use our animals as shields," he told the group. "They want to transport thousands of mammals to war zones across the galaxy." Dr. Park Sora looked horrified. "They would take our animals away from Earth?" "Worse," said Dr. Yoon Hana. "They think the animals' gentle nature will protect them. They have no idea that mammals can be dangerous when threatened." Research assistant Nam Sunmi had been quietly researching the Velkari species during her free time. "I found something interesting about the aliens themselves," she said, opening her laptop. On the screen were videos of Velkari in their natural habitat. The footage showed brutal territorial fights between different clans, Velkari warriors using claws and teeth to tear apart their enemies. Their own species is incredibly violent, Sunmi explained. They fight constantly for territory and resources, but because they're cold-blooded and abandon their eggs, they see this as natural behavior. They think warm-blooded creatures who care for their young must be naturally peaceful, added Dr. Oh Jinwoo, a behavioral ecologist who had joined the team recently. It's the opposite of their own nature, so they assume it means we're gentle. Minho rubbed his forehead. So they're planning to use our mammals as peace ambassadors because they think caring for babies makes us weak. Not weak, Hana corrected. Peaceful. They can't understand that protecting your family might make you more dangerous, not less. The group sat in silence, processing the implications. Finally, Jinwoo spoke up. We have to tell them the truth. Songwook will never allow it, Sora said. He's too focused on Earth joining the Galactic community. Then we tell them without Songwook's permission, Jinwoo replied. That could end Earth's relationship with the Confederation, Minho warned. And if we don't tell them, they'll take our animals to war zones where they'll either be killed or kill others, Hana added. Either way, it ends badly. Sunmi looked up from her laptop. There's another problem. I've been monitoring their communications. They're planning to request pandas, dolphins, and golden retrievers first. They want to start with the most peaceful species. The scientists realized they were running out of time. Soon the aliens would make official requests to remove Earth's animals from their natural habitats. We need to show them what mammals are really like, Jinwoo said. But it has to be dramatic enough to change their entire perspective. What do you mean? Minho asked. We need to show them a mammal that proves we're not just gentle caregivers. We need something that shows mammalian intelligence, social cooperation, and survival instincts all at once. Hana nodded slowly. Something that shows how dangerous mammals can be when they're protecting their families or territory. But what animal would work? Sora asked. We can't show them tigers or lions. The aliens would just think they're exceptions like they did with the cat. Jinwoo smiled grimly. I have an idea. But first, we need to understand exactly how the aliens plan to use our mammals. Sunmi, can you monitor more of their communications? Already on it, she replied, typing on her laptop. As the group prepared to leave the cafe, everyone understood that they were facing a choice. They could continue the deception and watch Earth's animals be taken away to serve as living shields in alien wars. Or they could reveal the truth about mammalian nature and risk Earth's place in the galactic community. The decision would change everything, for Earth, for the aliens, and for every mammal on the planet. But first, they needed to find the perfect example to show the Velkari what mammals were really like when survival was at stake. Time was running out. Dr. Oh Jinwoo had spent 3 sleepless nights planning the revelation. He knew it had to be perfect, dramatic enough to shatter the aliens' beliefs, but clear enough to show the truth about mammalian nature. The answer came to him while watching a nature documentary at 2 a.m., Spotted Hyenas. Hyenas are perfect, he told Dr. Yoon Hana over the phone the next morning. They show everything the aliens need to understand about mammals. Why hyenas? Hana asked. Think about it. They live in social groups like the gentle mammals the aliens love. The females care for their babies. They cooperate with each other. But they're also apex predators with the strongest bite force of any mammal. Hana was quiet for a moment. And the females are dominant over males. That will shock the aliens even more. Research coordinator Lim Jae-young and data analyst Hong Miran helped set up the secret transmission. They contacted a wildlife research station in Kenya that had live cameras watching a hyena clan. We need to time this perfectly, Jae-young explained to the group. The Masai Mara hyenas are most active at dawn and dusk. If we're lucky, we'll catch them during a territorial dispute. Dr. Song-wook had no idea what they were planning. He was busy preparing another presentation of gentle mammals for the aliens that afternoon. At exactly 4 p.m., the human scientists gathered in the research station with Commander Thexra and Science Officer Velton. Song-wook began showing videos of sleeping koalas and playing dolphins. These mammals continue to amaze us, Velton said, making notes. We have finalized our request to the Galactic Council. We want to relocate 500 pandas, 200 dolphins, and 300 golden retrievers to conflict zones across 3 different star systems. Minho felt his heart sink. The aliens were moving faster than expected. The first transport ships will arrive next month, Commander Thexra announced. These peaceful mammals will serve as living ambassadors of harmony throughout the galaxy. Doctor, Jinwoo stood up suddenly. Commander, before you make any final decisions, there's something you need to see. Song Wook looked panicked. Dr. I don't think that's necessary. It's very necessary, Hana interrupted, moving to the computer controls. We've been showing you only part of the truth about mammals. What do you mean? Velton asked, his yellow eyes narrowing. Jinwoo connected his laptop to the main screen. We want to show you mammals in their natural environment. Real mammals dealing with real survival situations. The screen filled with the African savanna at sunset. A pack of spotted hyenas was moving across the grassland. The camera was positioned to give a perfect view of the clan. These are spotted hyenas, Jinwoo explained. They are mammals just like pandas and dolphins. They care for their young, live in social groups, and cooperate with each other. Commander Thexra leaned forward with interest. They look different from your other mammals. More robust. Keep watching, Hana said quietly. On the screen, the hyena clan had encountered another group at the border of their territory. What happened next would change everything the aliens believed about mammals. The leader of the first clan was a large female. She approached the rival group with her head held high, showing no fear. Behind her, 20 other hyenas formed a battle line. The female is in charge? Velton asked, surprised. Female hyenas are bigger and stronger than males, Moran explained. They make all the important decisions for the clan. The 2 clans faced each other across the grassland. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the female leader let out a sound that made the aliens jump in their seats. It was the famous hyena laugh, but it wasn't funny. It was a war cry that sent chills down everyone's spine. What is that sound? Commander Thexra demanded. Communication, Jinwoo said calmly. She's telling her clan to prepare for battle. The fight began with explosive violence. The 2 clans crashed into each other like armies. Hyenas bit and clawed, their powerful jaws crushing bones. The sounds of snarling and laughing filled the air, but this wasn't mindless violence. The aliens watched in fascination as the hyenas used coordinated tactics. Some attacked from the front while others circled around the sides. When one hyena was outnumbered, its clan members immediately came to help. They're working together, Velton whispered. Even in combat, they cooperate. That's what makes them so successful, Hana explained. Mammals don't avoid violence. We've evolved to use it more effectively. On screen, the battle was turning. The first clan was winning through superior numbers and strategy. The rival group began to retreat, but the female leader wasn't finished. She led a pursuit, chasing the defeated hyenas away from the territory. Her clan members followed her, still laughing their terrifying battle cry. Commander Thexra was staring at the screen with his mouth open. These are the same type of creatures as your pandas? Genetically, they're very similar, Jinwoo confirmed. Both are mammals. Both care for their young. Both live in social groups. The camera switched to show hyena cubs playing near their den. Even the babies were practicing combat moves, wrestling and biting each other in preparation for adult life. The young ones learn to fight from birth, Sora observed. It's part of their education, just like learning to find food. Science Officer Velton was frantically checking his notes. But your other mammals, the pandas, the dolphins, they showed no aggressive behavior. Because we only showed you what we wanted you to see, Hana said bluntly. Song Wook tried to interrupt. Dr. Yoon, I think we should... No, Minho said firmly. It's time for the complete truth. Dr. Park Kyung, a field assistant who had been quiet until now, connected her own laptop to the system. Let me show you what we didn't tell you about those gentle mammals. New footage began playing. Orcas hunting seal pups, playing with them, before killing them. Dolphins forming gangs to attack sharks and other dolphins. chimpanzees conducting organized raids on neighboring troops. Every mammal species has this capability, Kyung explained. We survive because we can be peaceful, when it's safe, and violent when it's necessary. The aliens watched in shocked silence as video after video destroyed their beliefs. Bears mauling threats to their cubs, wolves hunting in coordinated packs, elephants charging to protect their families. Your pandas? Jinwoo asked. They have claws that can slice through tree trunks. Your gentle dolphins? They ram sharks to death with their noses. Every peaceful mammal you wanted to use as a living shield is actually a highly effective predator. Commander Thexra was breathing heavily, his reptilian chest rising and falling rapidly. You deceived us. We showed you the truth, Hana corrected. We just didn't show you the whole truth. The hyena footage continued playing in the background. The clan was now feeding on their victory, working together to share their meal. Cubs nursed from their mothers while adults stood guard. Look at them, Jinwoo said, pointing at the screen. They're caring for their babies, sharing food, protecting each other. Everything you admired about mammals is still there. But now you see the complete picture. Science Officer Velton's hands were shaking as he made notes. These creatures, they combine nurturing behavior with combat effectiveness. That's what makes mammals successful, Minho explained. We don't fight despite caring for our families. We fight because we care for our families. Commander Thexra stood up abruptly, his claws clicking on the floor as he paced. This changes everything. If we place these creatures in war zones, they won't bring peace, Hana finished. They'll either be killed by surprised enemies or they'll kill the enemies themselves. Either way, your plan fails. The room fell silent except for the sound of hyenas laughing on the screen. The aliens stared at the footage, their yellow eyes wide with a new understanding. Finally, Velton spoke. We need to reconsider our entire assessment of your species. Yes, Jinwoo agreed. You do. The truth was finally out. Now they would discover what the aliens would do with this new knowledge about Earth's mammals. The silence in the research station lasted for 10 long minutes. Commander Thexra and Science Officer Velton stared at the screens, watching hyenas care for their cubs while blood still stained their powerful jaws from the territorial battle. Finally, Commander Thexra spoke in a quiet voice. We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. Dr. Song-wook looked terrified. Commander, please understand that we meant no harm. We were trying to show you the best of our world. The best? Velton asked, his yellow eyes focusing on Song-wook. You showed us lies. Not lies, Dr. Shin Tae-hyung said, entering the room. He was an evolutionary biologist who had been called in that morning when the team decided to reveal the truth. We showed you part of reality, but reality is more complex than any single video can show. Tae-hyung moved to the main computer and brought up new images, charts showing mammalian evolution over millions of years. You need to understand something about Earth's mammals, he began. We didn't evolve beyond violence. We evolved to use it more effectively. The aliens watched as Tae-hyung explained how mammals developed larger brains, better cooperation, and stronger family bonds, not to avoid conflict, but to win it. A mother bear is gentle with her cubs, Tae-hyung said, showing video of a bear family. But she will tear apart anything that threatens them. The same love that makes her nurture also makes her deadly. Commander Thexra was taking notes, but his claws were shaking. So when we planned to use mammals as living shields, you would have created a disaster, Dr. Yoon Hana confirmed. Imagine placing a protective mother with her babies in a war zone. She wouldn't bring peace. She would eliminate anything she saw as a threat. At that moment, General Zexhal's voice came through, the communication device. Commander Thexra, report on the mammal relocation project. Everyone in the room tensed. Commander Thexra looked at the humans, then at his science officer. General, he said slowly, we have discovered new information about Earth's mammals. Excellent. Are they as peaceful as expected? No, General, they are not. There was a pause. Explain. Commander Thexra spent the next 20 minutes describing what they had learned. He told the general about the hyenas, about the deception, and about the true nature of mammalian behavior. When he finished, General Zexhal was quiet for a long time. So these mammals, the general finally said, they combine intelligence with aggression. More than that, Science Officer Velton replied. They have weaponized cooperation itself. They work together not just to survive, but to dominate. Ambassador Ko Minji arrived at the research station 2 hours later. She was a diplomatic expert who had been secretly monitoring the alien situation. The government had sent her when they realized the truth was about to come out. "Honored guests," she said to the aliens with a respectful bow. "I understand there have been some revelations about our mammals." "Your species has been deceiving us," Commander Thexra said. But his voice was more curious than angry. "My species has been trying to make a good first impression," Minji replied calmly. "Just as I'm sure you showed us your best qualities when we first met." She gestured to the screens still showing footage of violent Velkari territorial battles that Nam Sunmi had researched. "We know your people fight brutal wars for territory," Minji continued. "But we didn't judge you based only on your violence. We understood that intelligent species are complex." General Zexhal's voice came through, the communicator again. "Ambassador, are you suggesting that mammals could be useful in warfare?" Dr. Kwon Sang-hoon stepped forward. He was a military consultant who had been quietly brought into the project that morning. His job was to help explain human military thinking to the aliens. "General, with respect, you're still thinking about this wrong," Sang-hoon said. "Mammals aren't useful in warfare. Mammals are warfare specialists." "Explain." Sang-hoon connected his laptop to the system. Military footage began playing, human soldiers working together in perfect coordination, protecting each other, following complex strategies. "Human military tactics are based on studying pack hunters like wolves and hyenas," he explained. "We learned teamwork from watching mammals. We learned sacrifice from watching parents protect their young. We learned strategy from watching predators hunt." Commander Thexra was fascinated. "Your military copied mammalian behavior?" "Our military eyes mammalian behavior," Sang-hoon corrected. "Humans are mammals. Everything we do comes from the same evolutionary pressures that shape the hyenas you just watched." The alien commander began pacing again, his claws clicking on the floor. "So when we observed humans caring for children, building communities, creating art, you were seeing the same drive that makes a hyena clan work together to defend their territory," Dr. Minho confirmed. "We cooperate because it makes us stronger. We create beautiful things because it helps us attract mates and build better communities. We care for our young because it ensures our survival. But you also fight wars," Velton observed. "When we have to," Ambassador Minji said. "Just like every other successful species in the galaxy." General Zexhal's voice crackled through the speaker. "Commander Thexra, I want you to ask the humans a direct question." "Yes, General. If another species threatened Earth, what would humans do?" The room went quiet. Ambassador Minji looked at each of the scientists before answering. "We would fight," she said simply. "Every human on the planet would fight to protect our families, our communities, and our world. We would use every bit of intelligence, cooperation, and strength we possess. And you would win," General Zexhal said. "It wasn't a question. We would try very hard to win," Minji confirmed. There was another long pause. Then the general asked, "What if we offered you alliance instead of conquest?" Commander Thexra looked surprised. "General?" "Think about it, Commander. We have been searching for peaceful species to help us resolve conflicts. But what if we've been thinking about this wrong? What if we need allies who understand that sometimes conflict is necessary?" Science Officer Velton checked his notes. "The mammals don't avoid violence despite being nurturing. They are effective at violence because they are nurturing." "Exactly," came the general's reply. "A species that fights only to protect what they love might be more trustworthy than a species that claims never to fight at all." Dr. Oh Jinwoo smiled. "General, you're beginning to understand mammalian nature. Over the next few hours, the conversation completely changed direction. Instead of discussing how to use Earth's animals as living shields, the aliens began asking about partnership. They wanted to understand how mammals balanced cooperation with competition, how they maintained peace within groups while defending against outside threats, how they built societies that were both nurturing and strong. "Your hyenas taught us something important," Commander Thexra told the assembled scientists. "Strength and care are not opposites. They support each other." "That's the lesson of mammalian evolution," Dr. Shin Taehyung agreed. "The species that survived were the ones that could be both gentle and fierce, depending on what the situation required." As the sun set over Seoul, the aliens prepared to return to their ship. But instead of leaving Earth disappointed, they were leaving with a new understanding. "We will recommend to the Galactic Council that Earth be invited to join the Confederation," Commander Thexra announced. "Not as peacekeepers, but as allies who understand when peace is possible and when it is not." Dr. Kim Min-ho asked the question everyone was thinking. "What changed your mind?" Commander Thexra looked back at the screen, where hyena cubs were still playing under their mother's watchful eyes. "We learned that your mammals aren't gentle despite being strong," he said. "They are strong because they are gentle. The fiercest protectors are often the most loving parents." The Galactic Confederation's files on Earth were updated that night with a new classification: Mammalian Intelligence Approach with Respect. And in the margin of the report, someone had written a note: "These creatures fight for love. That makes them the most dangerous and most trustworthy allies in the galaxy." The hyenas had taught the aliens the most important lesson about mammals. Those who have the most to protect are often the ones you want on your side. 2 weeks had passed since the crash. The aliens were still alive, but barely. Captain Velkor's crystal body was now covered in so many cracks that he looked like a broken statue held together by willpower. Dr. Zixra wheezed with every breath, and her green exoskeleton had turned a sickly yellow color. Luminas was stronger than before thanks to Jiho's help, but she still flickered like a candle in the wind. Jiho had been studying the sky for days. The purple clouds were getting thicker and darker. The wind was changing direction, and the air pressure felt different. He had learned to read weather signs during his military training, and all the signs pointed to one thing: a massive storm was coming. "We have to move," he told the aliens as they sat around their morning fire. "Big storm coming. This shelter won't protect us." Captain Velkor looked up at the sky with his cracked, crystal eyes. "I see no evidence of severe weather patterns. The atmospheric conditions appear stable." "Your weather sensors are broken," Jiho replied simply. "Look at the clouds. Feel the wind. The animals are all hiding." It was true. For the past 2 days, the strange creatures that usually made noise in the distance had gone completely silent. Even the carnivorous plants had pulled their vines underground. "Animals do not possess meteorological knowledge," Dr. Zixra protested, though her voice was weaker than usual. "They cannot predict weather patterns with scientific accuracy." But Jiho was already packing supplies. He had made bags from pieces of the ship's fabric and was filling them with food, water, and tools. "We need to reach higher ground. There are caves in those hills." He pointed to a range of rocky hills about 5 miles away. They looked dangerous and difficult to climb, especially for the injured aliens. "Impossible," Captain Velkor declared. "We cannot travel that distance in our current condition. We will remain here and wait for rescue." "No rescue is coming," Jiho said bluntly. "Your emergency beacon is broken. We're on our own." The truth of his words hit them hard. They had been hoping for weeks that someone would find them, but no ships had appeared in the alien sky. They were truly stranded. "Even if we must relocate," Dr. Zixra said, "that terrain is too challenging. My damaged exoskeleton cannot handle such a journey." Jiho studied each of them carefully. Then he began making modifications to their equipment and clothing, using materials from the ship. For Captain Velkor, he created a support harness using cables and metal strips. The harness would hold the alien's cracked body together and make walking easier. "Your crystal structure can be reinforced," Jiho explained. like putting a cast on a broken bone. For Dr. Zixra, he made a breathing apparatus using cloth filters and a small air pump he had salvaged from the ship. This will help your lungs work better during the journey. For Lumina's, he created a containment field using the ship's emergency power cells and some magnetic coils. It was crude compared to alien technology, but it would help her maintain her energy form during travel. These primitive modifications cannot replace proper medical equipment. Dr. Zixra protested, but she put on the breathing apparatus anyway. To her surprise, it made breathing much easier. Captain Velcor was more stubborn. "I do not need assistance from human contraptions," he said proudly. But when he tried to stand without the harness, his crystal body nearly fell apart. Reluctantly, he allowed Jiho to fit the support system around him. The storm hit just as they were finishing their preparations. It came suddenly and violently, with winds that howled like living creatures and rain that burned like acid. Their shelter was destroyed in minutes, torn apart by the fierce wind. "Move now," Jiho shouted over the storm noise. "Stay close together." The journey was a nightmare. The wind tried to knock them down with every step. The acid rain burned their skin and ate through their clothes. Lightning struck the ground around them, leaving smoking craters in the black. Sand, Captain Velcor stumbled and fell repeatedly, but Jiho's harness kept his crystal body from shattering completely. "I cannot continue," he gasped after the 10th fall. "Leave me here." "No one gets left behind," Jiho said firmly. He helped the alien captain to his feet and showed him how to use the walking stick he had made. "Lean on this. Take smaller steps." Dr. Zixra was having trouble with the rough terrain. Her 6 legs were designed for smooth surfaces, not rocky ground covered in slippery mud. She kept slipping and sliding, unable to get good grip. Jiho showed her how to distribute her weight differently. "Don't fight the ground," he explained. "Work with it, feel where it's solid." "This goes against all my analytical models of efficient locomotion," she protested, but she tried his method. Slowly she began to understand how to read the terrain with her feet instead of her instruments. Lumina's had her own problems. The storm's electromagnetic interference was disrupting Jiho's crude containment field. She was losing coherence again, her energy form spreading out like mist in the wind. "Focus on my voice," Jiho told her, remembering the meditation techniques that had helped before. "Don't think about the storm. Think about staying together. Think about moving forward." Somehow it worked. Luminous pulled her scattered energy back together and continued moving. The worst part of the journey came when they had to cross a deep ravine. A river of acid water rushed through the bottom, and the only way across was a fallen tree that formed a natural bridge. "We cannot cross that," Captain Velcor said, looking at the narrow, slippery log. "It is too dangerous." "The alternative is going around," Jiho replied, "which adds 6 hours to our journey. We don't have that much time before the worst of the storm hits." He studied the fallen tree carefully. It was thick enough to walk on, but the bark was wet and slippery from the acid rain. One wrong step would mean falling into the corrosive river below. Jiho had an idea. He took rope he had made from plant fibers and tied it securely to both sides of the ravine. Then he showed the aliens how to use the rope as a safety line while crossing the log. "This is primitive rope making," Dr. Zixra observed. "It cannot support our weight if we fall." "It's not meant to support your full weight," Jiho explained patiently. "It's meant to help you balance and catch you if you slip. Trust the rope, but don't depend on it completely." One by one, they crossed the dangerous bridge. Captain Velcor went first, moving slowly and carefully with Jiho's harness supporting his damaged body. Dr. Zixra followed, using the balance techniques Jiho had taught her. Luminous floated across, using the rope as a guide to keep her energy form focused. Jiho went last, making sure everyone was safe before crossing himself. By the time they reached the caves, all of them were exhausted and hurt, but they were alive, and they were together. The cave Jiho had chosen was deep and dry with multiple chambers that would provide good shelter. He quickly built a fire near the entrance, and the warm light drove away the cold and darkness. As they sat around the fire catching their breath and treating their injuries. Something had changed between them. The aliens no longer looked at Jiho as a primitive specimen. They looked at him as the person who had saved their lives. Your rope techniques were effective, Dr. Zixra admitted quietly. I have never encountered such methods in my scientific studies. The support harness you created for me is ingenious, Captain Velcor added, his crystal body glowing warmer colors than before. It uses basic engineering principles, but applies them in ways our advanced systems cannot replicate. Lumina simply said thank you, but their ordeal was far from over. Through the cave entrance, they could see the storm growing worse. Lightning lit up the sky constantly, and the wind sounded like screaming monsters. How long will this storm last? Captain Velcor asked. Jiho studied the lightning patterns and listened to the wind. 3 days, maybe 4, but that's not our biggest problem. What do you mean? Dr. Zixra asked nervously. Jiho pointed to tracks he had found near the cave entrance, large paw prints with claw marks that were definitely not friendly. We're not alone up here, he said quietly. Something big lives in these caves, and the storm is going to trap us in here with it. Outside, thunder crashed like the end of the world, and somewhere deep in the cave system, something howled in response. The aliens looked at Jiho with new understanding. They had accepted him as their leader during the journey, but now they realized something more important. Their survival didn't just depend on his knowledge. It depended on trusting him completely, even when his methods seemed impossible to understand. Sakir. Real test of their alliance was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the crash. The cave system had become their home, and the 4 survivors had learned to work together like a well-trained team. Captain Velcor's crystal body had healed stronger than before, with the cracks forming, beautiful patterns that actually made him more flexible. Dr. Zixra had adapted to breathing the planet's air naturally, and her exoskeleton had grown thicker to protect against the environment. Luminous had learned to maintain her energy form without technology, using the meditation techniques Jiho had taught her. But their biggest challenge was still ahead of them. Jiho stood at the edge of a cliff, looking up at the highest mountain peak on the planet. Somewhere up there was an old emergency beacon from a previous crash, another ship that had been destroyed years ago. If they could reach it and get it working, they might be able to send a distress signal that would reach space. The journey will take 2 weeks, Jiho told the others as they studied the mountain. It's dangerous. The air gets thinner as we go higher. The temperature drops below freezing, and there are things up there that we haven't seen before. Captain Velcor looked at the steep rocky slopes covered in ice and snow. My crystal structure may not handle the extreme cold, he admitted. And if I shatter at that altitude, there will be no way to repair me. My exoskeleton becomes brittle in freezing temperatures, Dr. Zixra added. I could become completely immobilized. I lose energy coherence in cold environments, Lumina said quietly. I might disperse permanently. They all looked at Jiho, waiting for his decision. Over the months, he had become their undisputed leader. They trusted his judgment completely now. We go together, Jiho said simply. We've come this far as a team. We finish as a team. The climb began at dawn. Jiho had spent weeks preparing equipment for each of them. He had made insulated clothing from materials salvaged from both their crashed ship and the ancient wreckage they had found in the caves. For Captain Velcor, he had created a warming system using chemical heating pads. For Dr. Zixra, he had built flexible joint protectors to prevent her exoskeleton from cracking. For Luminas, he had designed a portable containment field powered by hand-cranked generators. These crude modifications cannot replace proper environmental suits, Dr. Zixra said, but she put on the gear anyway. She had learned to trust Jiho's inventions. The first day of climbing was hard, but manageable. They followed paths that Jiho had scouted, avoiding the most dangerous areas. They moved slowly, stopping frequently to rest and check on each other. But on the second day, they encountered their first real danger. A pack of creatures that looked like giant wolves made of living ice had been following them. These were the mountain predators that Jiho had worried about. intelligent hunters that worked together to trap prey on narrow ledges. 6 of them, Jiho counted, watching the ice wolves position themselves above and below their position on the mountain path. They're trying to surround us. Our energy weapons are still non-functional, Captain Velcor reported. How do we defend ourselves? Jiho had been expecting this. He had prepared for it during their months in the caves. We don't fight them, he said. We confuse them. He pulled out several small devices he had built from scrap metal and chemical compounds. When activated, they produced bright flashes of light and loud, disorienting sounds. The ice wolves relied on their keen senses to hunt, but the sensory overload from Jiho's homemade flashbangs confused and frightened them. While the predators were disoriented, the group moved quickly along the mountain path to safety. The wolves, unable to coordinate their attack, eventually gave up and left to find easier prey. Brilliant tactical thinking, Captain Velcor said with genuine admiration. You turned their superior senses into a weakness. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, Jiho replied. They climbed for 10 more days, facing storms, avalanches, and equipment failures. Each challenge brought them closer together as a team. Captain Velcor learned to use his crystal, body's unique properties, to find safe paths through unstable ice. Dr. Zixra used her analytical mind to calculate the safest routes up the mountain face. Luminous used her energy form to scout ahead and warn them of dangers they couldn't see, and Jiho taught them all how to survive in conditions that would have killed them months ago. When they finally reached the emergency beacon, it was buried under years of ice and snow. The equipment was old and badly damaged, but some parts still worked. I can repair the transmitter, Dr. Zixra said, examining the ancient technology. But we will need a power source. The quantum battery is dead, Captain Velcor reported, and we have no way to recharge it. That was when Luminas made her contribution. I can power it, she said simply. I can transfer some of my energy directly into the system. That's dangerous, Jiho warned. You could lose too much energy and disperse completely. You saved my life many times, Luminas replied. Now I save all of us. It took hours of careful work, but they finally got the beacon working. The distress signal went out into space, carrying their location and a message asking for rescue. But they weren't done yet. As they prepared to make the dangerous journey back down the mountain, Jiho made a discovery that changed everything. The beacon had picked up another signal, an incoming message from a rescue fleet that was already on its way. But the message contained terrible news. A massive volcanic eruption was building deep underground, and it would soon make the entire planet uninhabitable. The geological instability will trigger a planet-wide catastrophe. Dr. Zixra translated from the technical data. We have less than 6 hours before the surface becomes completely toxic. The rescue ships cannot reach us in time, Captain Velcor realized. They are still 2 days away. They were trapped on a mountain peak with no way down in time to reach the rescue ships and no way to survive the coming volcanic disaster. That was when Jiho made the most important decision of his life. There's a way, he said quietly, but it's dangerous for all of us. He had been studying the mountain's geology during their climb. There was a network of underground caves that connected to a river system. If they could reach the caves before the eruption, the underground waterways might carry them to safety. The caves are unstable, Dr. Zixra protested. We could be trapped underground when the eruption happens. Or we could ride the underground river to the other side of the continent, Jiho countered, away from the volcanic zone. It was an insane plan. They would have to rappel down a 1,000-foot cliff face, navigate through flooded caves in complete darkness, and hope that the underground river carried them to safety instead of drowning them. But it was their only chance. I trust you, Captain Velcor said simply. You have never led us wrong. Your survival instincts have kept us alive this long, Dr. Zixra agreed. We follow your lead. Wherever you go, we go, Luminas added. The descent was terrifying. They now rappelled down the cliff face as the ground began to shake with pre-eruption tremors. They reached the cave entrance just as the first volcanic gases began poisoning the air above. The underground journey was like a nightmare. They floated on makeshift rafts through pitch-black caves filled with rushing water. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Poisonous gases seeped through cracks in the stone. The water was freezing cold and moved so fast they could barely control their direction. But Jiho's plan worked. After hours of underground travel, they emerged from a cave opening on the far side of the continent, just as rescue ships appeared in the sky above. When the rescue team found them, they were exhausted, injured, but alive. All four of them had survived an impossible situation through teamwork, trust, and human ingenuity. As they were taken aboard the rescue ship, Captain Velcor, Dr. Zixra, and Luminas did something that shocked the other aliens in the rescue fleet. They formally requested that Jiho be granted full citizenship in the Galactic Council and given the rank of Chief Survival Instructor for all species. This human saved our lives repeatedly, Captain Velcor testified to the Council via hologram. His survival skills are not primitive, they are foundational. Every species in the galaxy could learn from his knowledge. Human intuition and adaptability exceed our analytical methods in survival situations, Dr. Zixra added. They deserve respect, not mockery. Humans are not inferior, Luminous concluded. They are different, and that difference makes them valuable. 6 months later, Jiho stood in the Galactic Survival Academy, teaching a class of young aliens from dozens of different species. He showed them how to make fire, build shelter, find water, and adapt to hostile environments using nothing but intelligence, determination, and basic tools. The aliens listened with respect and fascination, taking careful notes on techniques their advanced civilizations had forgotten or never learned. Remember, Jiho told his students at the end of each lesson, technology can fail, equipment can break, but knowledge, skills, and the will to survive, those are things no one can take away from you. And in the back of the classroom, Captain Velcor, Dr. Zixra, and Luminous watched with pride as their former prisoner became the teacher of the galaxy. The human they had once mocked as primitive had become the most respected survival expert in known space, and they were proud to call him their friend.